Yeah, I
Not
think
excusing it. I'm just saying we're, by far we've got a little bit easier than, neighboring nations.
well, I feel like a lot of that, just I feel like a lot of the outrage towards police, isn't necessarily just the police brutality, but it's just been 30, 40 years in the making of a slow militarizing of the police, a slow privatization of prisons. You see how the drug war has been used to, suppress certain social movements.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's just I feel like it's just a mass protest over what it could be, because one thing that the last few years and this pandemic I feel has really done for American society is that
Mm.
it's kind of ripped off the band-aid, and we actually see how fragile our institutions really are. And
Yeah.
I mean, how we respond to that fragility and how we try to reform things, over the next 2 decades are going to be of detrimental importance. And one of the first things that we need to do is we need to revamp how we collect data in this country, what we allow to be used, because I know Illinois has some stricter laws as far as like biometric data and stuff like that.
Right.
But there are some I mean there are some states where there's almost no protections for biometric data.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of uneven in that space. And, the only way to solve for that is to make it at the federal level. But shit, I mean, you don't want that. Trust me. You don't want them arbitrarily deciding at a federal level what's okay from a biometric, standpoint, because that means your heat signature, your facial geometries, your hand
Oh yeah.
geometries, all that interesting stuff that a lot of people don't understand can be maintained. I mean, that's better than fingerprints in some ways, I'll tell you. And yeah, if we do have to think about that long term, how to manage that information better. More importantly, how to expunge it, because nobody's thinking about that. But yeah, it's, circling back on the whole police matter too. Yeah, there's, culturally, we're starting to realize, in some ways, yeah, there's a lot of good cops, but there's also a lot of bad ones. And sometimes it's just viewed as another gang. And that's got to change, and our engagement model socially in terms of how we wish to criminalize people, we're going to have to revisit, because again, it's not working.
Yeah, it's definitely not working. When you have what I think I was watching a documentary. They said we had 10% of the world's population, but over 60% of the world's prison population.
Yeah,
And I mean, I feel that just comes with the money influencing the system,
that
because
is the reason. Yeah,
when you have a privatized prison, that they're going to, one, I mean, if you're a corporation and you have the lobbying power to influence laws to make nonviolent crimes give you longer sentences, because if you're in the prison business, you want to have nonviolent offenders that you can keep there as long as possible, because they're going to give you they're going to give you the least amount of like negative events, fights, stuff like that.
yeah,
So they kind of like geared the system to try and trap these people for these non-violent drug offenses. And I mean, I don't know. I don't believe that. I don't believe victimless crime should be given mandatory minimums.
yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. Yeah, there's that has to be revisited. Our our methods of hate crimes is kind of skewed. Our methods of sexual predators is kind of skewed. I mean, it's always with the best intentions, but the application of it is oftentimes we find is piss poor,
Right.
and it's easy to fall through the cracks and be categorized as something that you potentially are not. And there's no way to dig yourself out of it thereafter. So again, it's always with the best intentions. It's just we leave it to legislation to decide what's best for us, and that's moronic in itself. Because again, they're not. If they happen to do something for our benefit, it's more incidental or accidental than actually something that's going to give us a direct benefit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes back to building those profiles, right?
Yeah,
you have this justice system that, like you were saying, it built a profile on you, and then it digs you into a hole that it's hard for you to get out of.
Yeah,
But now we're talking about, that same system being amped up in the next 20 years with all this data that, I mean, right now corporations are being able to use it, but there's going to come a time when your local law enforcement is going to have access to all of that as well, and
yeah,
that's what I'm afraid of.
yeah. And to some degree, some of that information is, well, it is attainable, but it's not as fluid as as you might think. But still, it's just a matter of time before it becomes more fluid. Again, first things, any police officer is going to do, they're going to go to your social media. They're going to look at
Right.
your phone, and then they're going to look at social media, and they will build a profile, rapid fire. Okay, or they'll, again, they may have a profile that they can tap into that to begin with.
Right, right. So they just like buy the rights from some third party that's already got that information on you.
Yeah, or people are just so damn dumb that they just have their profile open to the public by default, so they're just an open door.
Oh, no.
So that's usually, oftentimes, the path of least resistance is, it's like, well, I didn't know I could lock them down.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't have taken that picture holding that gun, but that preys on the, on our vanities.
Man, could you imagine what politics is going to be like 20 years from now? Like people think politics is bad now. Just wait until Gen Z are the one running for office, and every Twitter rant, every time they called someone a Nazi, every time someone
Yeah.
was called a libtard, all of that stuff is going to be available, and
Oh,
people
yeah.
are pulling stuff up left and right. I mean, I think our media cycles are crazy now. I just can't even imagine what it's going to be like then.
Oh, just imagine by that time they're going to be digging up stuff that you said and posted when you were 8 years old. It's like you didn't even hit puberty yet, and they're going to hold shit against you. Like, are you kidding me? But that's our society, man. We like to build people up, but we like to trample them more. So
Yeah.
or we build them up, then trample them, and then build them up again so we feel good.
Yeah, it reminds me of that South Park episode with, I want to say it was Britney Spears,
Yeah.
where they build her up just to sacrifice her for the harvest.
Yeah, leave it to South Park with their social observations, man. They said it best. It was like, well, if you're going to kill somebody, make sure it's somebody your own race. Otherwise, it's a hate crime. I was just like, oh, man, that's bad. There's a bitter truth to it, but it's like, yeah, it's funny, but oh, yeah, it kind of stings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. South Park, that's the one show that, yeah, they have their high points and their low points, but over the course of it, as it's gone on, it's just gotten better. They've
Yeah.
gotten more astute with their observations, and sometimes they hit, sometimes they miss, but when they hit, they hit.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that episode that they did, not, I want to say it was the one about Disney and China.
Oh. Oh, man, that one in the human centipede. I'll remember. Oh, those guys, yeah, they're cutthroat. But, that's the beautiful thing about parody, man. They can make fun of anything and give you some observational humor to go along with it. Makes you think,
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. And I don't know, it gives you an appreciation for it as well, because I mean, those guys have been working on that same project. I mean, it's been their baby for what, almost 30 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
And they jump off every now and again, to do side projects, Team America or the Book of Mormon, but that's always been their consistent form of expression. And man, Trey and Matt have a way of just taking down American society with just the best of wit, but it just cuts straight to the bone sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Their social awareness is fantastic. It's very sober, and it helps you. Hate to say it, but their observations help you keep a sober view of reality sometimes. And It's like, oh, you're talking about a cartoon here. That's really a nasty cartoon. Like, yeah, but these guys are spot on, man. They get it, and you know, it's much to our chagrin, right? You know, they point out things about us that we may not like, but it is funny when they point it out. You know, they do it in a very clever way.
Yeah. The one thing, and I know that one reason the left hates him so much is that they're able to make certain stereotypes just seem fresh. You know,
Yeah.
whether like racial stereotype or some sort of subgroup or subculture, like they have a way to make it fresh and make it pertinent to what's going on.
Hmm. They do it, and they do it just beautifully. I mean, they just cut right through the veil of bullshit and get right to it. You know.
Did you see the Broncos game where they actually had all the big wooden painted cutouts of the entire town of South Park in the stands?
No, I did not see that. Really?
I haven't been watching much sports since this all started, but well, I noticed it with the baseball games first, and then football teams started doing it. But yeah, the last Broncos game, they had every character that had ever appeared on South Park cut out and probably on like some plaster or some wood and
Huh.
printed over them in the stands. And like, I mean, that show's so expansive that like every second seat or every other seat, they had someone there, and it almost filled up the entire bottom half.
Oh, that's hilarious. You think they could use some kind of green screen board or something like that and put whatever they want, you know, in those circumstances. But that would be complicated. But yeah, that'd be pretty cool too, though.
Oh man, if it was
I
me,
got to pay more attention to that.
dude, I would just be cutting in like I don't know, random footage from like games from the mid '90s, just like crowd shots. Just because
Yeah,
it's not gonna work whatsoever, but that's kind of the humor in it. You know what I mean?
yeah, you could definitely. Yeah, there's some. You can have some fun out of this. You know, take advantage of the moment. You know,
Uh,
green
you
screen
know,
the whole thing.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. Since COVID kind of hit, like just watching, like we were talking about, watching live events, kind of rebound. Watching certain sports and like live TV kind of rebound is interesting too, because
Yeah.
like look at, man, I was watching professional wrestling without a crowd.
Mhm.
And dear Lord, it looks like they're doing some sort of bizarre Dada inspired interpretive dance. Like it makes no sense because you don't have that feel that they're actually fighting because the crowd and the energy is not into it. It just
Yeah,
looks like weird interpretive art.
they're just going through the motions. Yeah, man. Oh man, I have not seen that yet, but it's almost. I almost don't want to. You know, they'll take you out of it. You know, and but I don't know. I mean, this is the way it's going to be for a little while.